we're at war, according to our Secretary of War, and nobody argues with that. So if we're at war, I think we learned in Vietnam that the micromanaging of
I don't think you
what
wanna
the
go into Venezuela on the ground
no.
because let's count the ways. You've got the MAGA base that does not want optional military engagements. The Rand Pauls, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson. Okay, that's clear. And then once you've staked so many assets and it's like he's put a frog in the pot and turned up the temperature. So they can't fly in and out of Venezuela. They can't use ships can't go in. It's basically an embargo. How long can you sustain it, put soldiers at sea in a combat situation? And what if he just says, I'm going to wait it out? So what's the next step to ratchet up the pressure? I don't know what that is. But once you've committed these forces and you put them right off the coast and you said he has to go, you've committed the prestige of the US military, and if you back down, it's kinda like what Joe Biden did when he said, it depends on whether it's a minor invasion or Anthony Blinken was dressed down in Anchorage by the Chinese or the Chinese balloon. Any indication that there are not dire consequences once you've made that decision, it's very hard, so I'm not sure that I would've put all of those assets so quickly right there because now it's a question of willpower. And if he says, I can survive without my drug revenues, or I can get them from other countries, then he may be able to survive. We did this once before with Noriega. He was a drug smuggler. The other problem is he just pardoned the president of Honduras, who was a conservative, who had been convicted in a U.S. court of drug smuggling, sentenced to 40 years. So it doesn't look good to say we can't tolerate any drug running from Latin American countries, and we're going to go to war almost. But this guy right north of you has been convicted of drug running, and yet you pardoned him. So that's problematic. He problem he pardoned him because he said that the Biden administration was politically hostile to his politics. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just talking about optics.
Well, back to I was asking the question of didn't we learn in Vietnam, and do you feel like it still stands that micromanaging military affairs on the battlefield does not work very well? That we as a citizens should expect our president that we elected and our military to be given orders and then
I think the
understanding
order
there
was
are
yeah, I think that's what
laws, there's some laws, but in general, the orders were, in this case, hit the drug boat, sink the drugs, or destroy the drugs, and destroy all the drug runners. And that's what the orders were to that regional commander. So
yes, and that's what orders always are, and then the question is I'll give you an example. In the Battle of the Bulge, the Germans, under a lot of irregular troops, went in at Malomate and executed prisoners, and during the Dieppe raid, they executed prisoners. In the Dunkirk evacuation, the Germans executed prisoners, and the question is then, did they get that at Nuremberg, did they get that command from the general or not? And the US does not execute prisoners, but it's happened where the people who executed the Americans, the SS, when they were captured in elements of the Battle of Bulge, subsequently, some of them were executed by American soldiers. I don't know any American soldiers that were held captive. I mean, captive to the law and culpable. So again, it's a fine line when you hit a military target and the target is still there. So you know that there are people in there that can't fight back and that are suffering, so do you hit it again to eliminate the threat, or do you consider those people prisoners of war even though you're not even near them? What I'm getting at is this: they say they were executed prisoners of war. They weren't in possession of the United States. It would be one thing if they had come up quickly with a PT boat, so to speak, and got them, put them on the boat, and then started going out to high sea and throw them overboard. But they were part of a kinetic operation is what I'm saying. It was still ongoing. So it's all part of a narrative that we saw with the video, this seditious six, so to speak. And out of nowhere, Senator Mark Kelly has decided that he's going to be a prominent anti-Trump spokesperson. So he made the video. He was subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, where he called for people to disobey orders if they thought they were illegal. Now he's weighing in that Pete Hegseth should be impeached. Now he's weighing in and weighing in, and this has been an avenue for his media exposure. But he has to be careful because no one believes that if the person is not in your possession and he's still part of a kinetic ongoing battle, that he's a prisoner. You know what I'm saying? Do you shoot people? My grandfather, I asked him in World War One when I was a little boy, I said, "What were you doing?" He said, "I'm a Lewis machine gunner." He was a Teamster, and they put him in a combat unit. And he was gassed and disabled, but he basically said, "I got sick of shooting young Germans and old Germans as they were running away. We were told that we were chasing them. And they weren't surrendering, but they obviously couldn't fight back. They'd given up and they were running back, and the Americans were chasing them with arms and shot them. So I don't know what the left means by prisoners, shooting prisoners or executing prisoners. They weren't
Yeah.
prisoners.